Hello everyone, thank you for showing up to the planning meeting. We're going to get started in 2 minutes, so if you could wrap up your conversations and find a seat, we'll get started in 2 minutes. Thanks. All right, it's 1700. We're going to go ahead and get started with our meeting. I'm Steve DeBenedette, Deputy Plan Section Chief for the Park Incident. Today is July 27th, 2024, and this is the Park Incident Planning Meeting for tomorrow's operational period. A few reminders, please check your phones, make sure they're on a mute setting, any HTs or radios in the room, if you could keep those at a very low volume, and please refrain from any side conversations during our meeting. Going over the incident objectives, starting with the management objectives. Fight fire aggressively while maintaining safe work practices to minimize threats to the public and emergency responders. All actions and efforts will focus on safeguarding the citizens and resources of all affected counties. Minimize damage to structures, private and public property, and other improvements in the fire area. Ensure repopulation takes place in a quick, efficient, and effective manner. Protect natural, cultural, and heritage resources. Continue to foster and maintain positive relationships with all local cooperators and stakeholders. Ensure coordinated, timely, and accurate release of public information. And ensure costs are aligned with mission priorities. ICs, are these management objectives still valid? With the control objectives. Keep the fire north of Skyway. Keep the fire east of Highway 99. Keep the fire south of Highway 44. And keep the fire west of Skyway to Humbug Summit. Operations, are these control objectives still valid? Yes. And now for our situational update with Operations Section Chief Jeremy Pierce.
All right, good afternoon. What a difference 24 hours makes, of course. Starting off in the south, moving our way on this western side. All of the divisions starting in Bravo Charlie. Well, first let me redo this org that we're going to redo. It's probably a good time to do this since we're going to talk about this. So we've redone the org chart on this, we've done the map. Essentially what we've done is we were running out of divisions. We started here in what was the old Charlie, and it's now called Bravo Charlie. And this will be, it's hard for me to see, Bravo Delta, or excuse me, Tango Delta, Tango Charlie. So the way this works is in our line, we have our Butte section, or Butte zone, and then we have our Tehama zone. So with that division, the first letter will be, if it's a T, you're in your Tehama zone. If it's a B, you're in the Butte zone. If we move up into Shasta, it'll be S, etc. So the first letter will be the zone you're working in, the second is the division you're working in. Make sense? So on our updates, if we move down here into the Bravo Charlie, which is the Butte Charlie zone, we'll work our way north. That line is held really well. It's still backing down, coming off the ridge in the grass in the front country. Dozers on it, haven't had any issues. It's continuing that way all the way to the north. As you move up into branch 10 and continue, we're still working on that line. So there is some line on that top part of branch 10 that we're still trying to tie into that into the ridge up on the very top here. It's a difficult section up there to make access, but the folks are trying to find line and get into that creek bed there. As you move around the horn, they're trying to connect into the line that's coming down off of yesterday's big fire growth. as well as work down to it and connect the dots up there. Where we've made all of our progress today, or most of our progress, because our number one priority in the north, and on that north side where it slopped over Highway 36, we've got 5,000 acres. So they've been able to cut that off, go direct just above Manton, and work their way down to 36. We've got a high probability of success. Under today's fire conditions, we're making a lot of headway, and we expect that to maintain and continue on both the west and east side of that. So we're really happy with the success of keeping it on that Highway 36. It was our main priority. The crews have been up there all day, a lot of dozer work, a lot of crew work, hoses being plumbed, and they're making a lot of work up there. So I'm very excited about that as it comes down. As we move to the east side of it, they're now trying to figure out how to tie that line in, and they're making progress down into the fuel break from SPI. As that fuel break continues down, they're almost at the Mill Creek, where they have a line going down to the Mill Creek drainage, the rim, and they're going to try to connect that dot as well with our Branch 15 partners. The real challenge will be in that Mill Creek, finding a spot where we can connect that dot between the crews coming from the north and then the Branch 15 coming from the south. So they're working on that point and where that's going to connect. As you move down into Branch 20, didn't have any fire progress down there. So the fire is maintained on that 32 corridor. No spot fires today, no slop overs today. They've made great progress. We've had no threats to any structures in there today. That entire 32 corridor is holding. They're mopping up, building that line, building some depth. Super happy with that progress, which was going to make a lot of people happy over in the Magalia area and up above where we've done all of our evacuations. So moving around down the bottom, no issues, no spot fires as well, and that's it.
Weather, Jeff Tonkin.
Good evening, folks. So today we had the cool and moist air move in from the south, but we also had an element that wasn't really anticipated. We had a lot of smoke shading today across the perimeter and all the way down into the Chico area and farther south. So, it certainly limited our temperatures and RHs and winds to some extent this afternoon, which was a good thing. But I'm not certain that we're going to have that again tomorrow. Looking at several smoke models, there's definitely some uncertainty on whether or not we're going to hold that smoke in overnight and through tomorrow. So one of the transport winds, the smoke transport winds and the winds aloft are blowing out of the south to north tomorrow. So, my confidence to some extent is that we're going to lift it out through the morning hours and see the afternoon clear up pretty good. So this forecast for tomorrow on Sunday here is based on clear skies. And roughly about a 5-degree increase from what we saw today. And we were about the high 70s, lower 80s across the perimeter today. And RHs were generally around 35% or so dropping it down about another 5% or so likely around 30% tomorrow afternoon. And the winds, again, will be fairly light, generally out of the south and southeast along the valley side of the fire, and on the east side a little bit more southwest, and also on the north side a little bit more southwest. But again, the wind speeds should be generally pretty light. And that will continue for a couple of days here. I do have one red box here for Monday, just because there's an upper level feature moving through, and I think some of the higher elevations we'll see, maybe some gust in the lower 20s or so Monday afternoon. But it doesn't look as bad as it did a couple days ago, so it's trending downward. That's a great sign. And I think it's kind of prudent to kind of look out toward the end of the week here. And you can see I have some red boxes here, and we're definitely going to see the temperature start to climb again by the weekend. I think the main thing I want to talk about here is that one of the things we're looking at whenever we see high pressure building back in across this area, we start to see some east winds and some downslope winds occur across the drainages, and not really seeing that yet, but certainly we're going to keep an eye on that.
Fire behavior, Brian Newman.
All right, good afternoon. So we did see the lighter fuels react to that increase in moisture today and really slow down some of that activity in those lighter fuels, the grasses and such. And so that really made a difference in the efforts today. But the heavier fuels really didn't react. They're much slower reacting. And so that's the activity that we're seeing out there generally, the smoke columns that we're seeing. And we're going to see that again tomorrow. Those lighter fuels, a little slower to react, a little faster to react, and those heavier fuels a little slower. So that's where our main activity is going to be tomorrow. Overall, our indices are still at that 90% or higher in both of our energy release component and our burning index. So that's going to contribute to that fire spread and really kind of rebound out of this nice calm day we had today. Overall, this is a fuel and slope-driven fire. So if we get alignment with some of the fire in the fuel and the slope, we're going to continue to see that activity, and we'll see that increase in activity as it progresses further east into the really deep drainages. And if we get a good alignment of those, we could see some more plumes develop potentially for tomorrow. Again, very challenging terrain, especially on the eastern section as we get up further up to the northeast as well. So fire that gets into there becomes really challenging in the really difficult terrain and really difficult for the crews to get in there. So a slower reaction time for the crews into there. We are going to expect some of that smoke shading off to the north, as you just heard from the IMET. Even though we may not see that same smoke down here, it's going to progress that smoke to the north, and that could potentially, most likely, slow down that burning opportunity there. Just really keep the fire shaded out, much like we saw today. And so if that does thin out, we could see that increase in activity. But starting out in the day, it's going to be generally relatively smoky and much slower activity, but we can see that increase. Along in the sections over here, the Butte zone moving up in towards the Tehama zone, especially, and then we're starting to see some of those areas where it's dirty burn. It didn't have real complete combustion, so we do have opportunity for some reburn in there. It burned the under fuels out. But as we start to see a little increase in temperature and winds later into Monday, we could see some of that activity reburn in some of those areas that dried out from the fire that went through there. And then as we get further up into the upper elevations, fuel moistures across the board are generally much higher than they are down lower, so the activity should diminish as it gets up into there. And also of note, tomorrow, because of the complexity and the size of the fire, we are adding an additional fire behavior and fire weather forecast. So you'll see 2 fire weather forecasts, 1 for each zone, and 2 fire behavior forecasts, 1 for each zone, to ensure that we could get the most accurate information out for each of the crews that are working in each of those zones. End of report.
Deputy Operations, Brian Ham.
So for our incident organization, we're keeping the 2 zones the same. We're increasing our branches to 7, increasing the number of divisions to 21, and we're adding 2 contingency groups to both zones. As far as the critical resource needs, we have had some equipment trickle in today. A lot of dozers and water tenders came in, but our critical resource needs are going to be engines, crews, and overhead from the division level down.
Air Operations, Matt Stanford.
Good afternoon. Today we dropped over 80,000 gallons of water, 260,000 gallons of retardant, and everyone is still out there working. For the Butte zone, we have the Chico helibase, which has 12 copters, and 9 of those are water dropping. For the Tehama zone, we have a total of 18 copters, and 14 of those are water dropping. We have the night water dropping copters working tonight, and they'll be working with the UAS teams. We're opening up another helibase tomorrow, the Spring Branch helibase. We have 2 mobile retardant plants open, one in Dye Creek and the other in Manton. And we have the medevac ship 823 coming out of Reading. And we have Copters 606, the Firehawk, for daytime hoist. In the report.
Safety, David Sargenti.
Good evening. Since our last meeting, we've had 3 minor line safety or minor line injuries off the line. We did complete our 215A process in coordination with our ops section chief, as well as verified by our line safeties. Subjects that we're going to highlight tomorrow are fatigue, driver safety, and situational awareness. Tomorrow we will have 7 line safety officers on the line to support the plan.
Communications, Tom Webb.
Good evening. Today we took over communications from Orville at about 9 o'clock this morning. Once we got the staffing in, tomorrow's plan, we worked through the day-to-day getting our NIFC system set up and NIFC repeaters across there. We got 4 of our 5 installed and are in the process of doing some testing with that now with the radio techs. We'll be hopefully going live on those tomorrow morning with a backup plan, so you'll see multiple 205s in the IAP for tomorrow, a primary and a contingency if the system doesn't work appropriately. And if you have any questions, come see us in the comm unit.
Medical, Chris Yuri.
All right, we've had some fire line EMTs and medics trickling in, so we should be able to stand up 5 teams for tomorrow. We should be getting some more being reassigned from other incidents coming in, so by tomorrow to Monday, we should be able to staff up 6 to 7 on 24-hour shifts. We did get 1 RIMS team in from the Shelley incident today, possibly getting a second one sometime tomorrow. Still have the 3 ALS incident ambulances, and CalMat and MERT team are here in base camp.
Okay, going around the room for support of the plan, starting with logistics, finance, information, liaison, with our cooperators, CAL FIRE Butte Unit, CDCR, BLM, National Parks, Cal OES, Town of Paradise, Butte County Sheriff's Office, PG&E, and now our Unified Incident Commander, Todd Mack.
Support.
Unified Incident Commander, Billy C.
All right, support. Obviously, 350,000 acres, 7 branches, 21 divisions, a little complex out there. Sounds like we're going to go to an air fence tomorrow for our aviation assets, running 2 Helcos, 2 air attacks. Complexities going through the roof on this. We added Incident Management Team 4 as a force multiplier. We're opening up Red Bluff as a forward leaning base to cut down the drive time on that north end to better support that Tehama zone. So obviously, we've got 2,500 people assigned to the incident as of now. We anticipate this incident getting up near 4,000 or more between the 2 bases. We're taking this seriously. This thing's going to impact multiple communities. It already has, and we're going to try to prevent the destruction of additional communities out there. We need everyone's support, and thank you.
A few reminders. IAP components are due at 1900 hours. Please deliver those to the planning building. Our next operational briefing will be tomorrow at 0700 hours in the outdoor briefing area. Our next cooperators meeting is tomorrow at 1000 hours right here in this room. And our next planning meeting will be back here in this room at 1700 hours tomorrow. And that concludes the meeting. Thank you.